by the end of this fiscal year, but there are lots of uncertainties. We're still on a continuing resolution which ends March 28th. There's sequestration issues and limitations on travel. There's a lot of challenges. So we hope to move things along with regard to the TMAC, but there's also limitations to what we can pull off. So I'll caveat that. It's our hope and goal to get there, but there's a lot of moving pieces here. Still haven't released a budget for 14. And so there's not much I can tell you there. Hopefully sometime soon a budget will get rolled out, and we'll be able to talk a little bit about the future from that perspective. But I think it's pretty safe to say that implementing all the sections of that bill is going to take time. It's not, it's not, you can't just throw money at it and then a year later expect it all to be done. There's quite a lot of lifting that has to occur, including coordination across the federal government, coordination across state governments with associations through the Mapping Advisory Council, and a lot of other elements. And so it will take a long time to implement every single provision, mapping provision in the bill, and it will take resources to do that. I think the bill authorizes $400 million or something to that effect, clearly well and above our current funding levels. The President's budget for FY13, again, which the budget hasn't been passed, but at least the request was for $205 million this year. Not quite half, but roughly a split. Half of it coming from fees, essentially on the sale of flood insurance policies, and the other half coming from direct appropriations. So that's a little bit about the bill. I wanted to sort of step back a little and just share some experiences with Hurricane Sandy and some things that we're learning under the deployment, if you will, of our risk mapping assessment and planning program. And I'm sure you all know this very well. There's something unique about maps. They're not tables of numbers. They're not charts. They're not graphics. They're this mix of all of those things. And people react to maps. I think you see it play out every day in terms of folks using their phones and a lot of the social pieces being driven by mapping products, and location specifically being so important to people. And one of the things we're learning, which I appreciate that's in the bill, is this need for better communication and outreach. We don't want people to just react to the maps. That's easy enough. We can create a really fancy, slick map that surprises people and frightens them, and that's not what we want to do. What we want to do is inform and empower people to make good choices, and our products need to do that. They can't be frightening, they need to be empowering, and they need to be informative. And in order for that to happen, we have to pay particular attention to the social elements. And so if we make maps in the hope that if we meet these standards and specifications and deliver those maps to the public, that they'll just respond and they'll do exactly what we would like them to do, I think we're falling extremely short of the challenge. We need to be iterative in our mapping process, and we learned this first and foremost in a lot of the things that we're doing under a risk mapping assessment and planning program, but also in response to Hurricane Sandy. We're in the midst of a very iterative process with both New Jersey and New York in terms of re-identifying flood hazards in those areas. When the hurricane hit, we knew prior to its landfall that the National Flood Insurance Program maps that were on the books understated the hazards quite significantly. And so we said we've got to get advice out to people, and we don't have time to wait 8 months to a year to hit, cross every T and dot every I. So we worked hard to get the maps out there, and we're going through this iterative process. So I would just challenge this group in kind of closing to think about the products beyond standards and technical specifications. Think toward their use as the bill talks to. Think about what it means to make a map collaboratively with users and to adjust that as you go down the road so that they do with it what you would expect and hope of them to do with it. In our case, it's better managing of flood risk and reducing those risks over time. So we'll keep plugging, we'll keep moving toward implementation of different pieces of the bill as we can, and keep marching down the road.